Welcome to this comprehensive tutorial where we will build a 3D space shooter game using Java. My name is Your Name, and I'm excited to guide you through this project step by step. In today's video, we will use the Java 3D library to create our game. If you've always wanted to make a game, you've come to the right place. We'll cover all aspects, from setting up your environment to writing the gameplay code. First things first, we need to set up our development environment. Let's make sure you have the Java Development Kit installed along with an IDE such as IntelliJ IDEA or Eclipse. Now that we have our environment set up, let's add the required libraries. We will be using Java 3D, which allows us to create three-dimensional graphics using Java. You can download Java 3D from the official website or include it using Maven in your project. Let's create our project. Open your IDE, create a new Java project, and add the Java 3D library to your build path. Now we need to structure our project properly. A typical structure would include packages for main, entities, and systems. Now that our project is set up, we can start coding. First, we'll create a class named GameWorld. This class will set up our 3D environment in the main game loop. Next, we'll initialize our scene by adding a simple background. Within the init method, we can create a simple universe object which will help us render our game world. Let's create the background method that sets up the scenery. You want to provide a space-like feel. We can set the background color to dark blue. Now, let's add our spaceship model. For now, we'll use a simple box shape to represent our spaceship. We will have a method that creates this box. Once we've created our spaceship, we need to add it to the scene graph. We will create a transform group to handle the position and orientation of the ship. Next, we want the player to control the ship. We'll capture keyboard input using a key listener that will allow players to move the ship forward and rotate it left or right. We'll have to add the ship key listener to our GameWorld class. This will allow the game to respond to the user's key presses. Let's implement that right now. Now, let's implement the ship movement. We'll modify our key pressed method to update the position of the ship based on the keys pressed. Next, we'll implement a shooting mechanism. To do this, we'll create projectiles that are fired from our spaceship. Each projectile will also be a simple box shape that moves forward in the scene. To handle shooting, we'll listen for the spacebar key press. When the player presses space, a new projectile will be created and launched forward. To actually animate the projectile, we need to update its position in our game loop. Create a method that updates the position of all active projectiles and remove any that are off-screen. Now, we would like to add enemies to our space environment. We can create an enemy class that will generate enemy ships at random positions and move toward the player's ship automatically. In the main game loop, we'll continuously update the positions of enemies to simulate the attack. We want to detect collisions between the player's projectiles and the enemies. We'll implement a simple ABB, axis-aligned bounding box, collision detection method for this. Whenever a collision is detected, we should remove the enemy and the projectile from the scene. Update your game loop such that it checks for collisions. Lastly, we should implement a scoring system to keep track of the player's score for each enemy defeated. Create a simple integer variable to store the score and display it on the screen. When an enemy is destroyed, call the update score method. We also want to display the score in the game window. Let's create a simple GUI component to show this. To wrap things up, let's initialize our game, composition scripts, and organize everything cleanly with controllers, models, and views. Congratulations! You've built a basic 3D space shooter game. Now, you can further enhance this game by adding sound effects, upgrades for the spaceship, more enemy types, and different levels. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more Java tutorials. Leave your comments and suggestions below. See you in the next video.